Welcome to my channel, Modern Stoic. When a woman starts unloading her problems on you, most men think it's just casual conversation, but it's never just talk. A woman doesn't share her struggles with every man she meets. If she's telling you what's stressing her out, that means something far deeper is at play. And no, it's not always what you think. Welcome to the channel, fellas. Here we break down the kind of truths most people dance around. Because if you really want to understand women, you can't just focus on what they say. You have to pay attention to why they say it to you. This right here is where most men completely miss the game. See, when a woman tells you her problems, it can mean she trusts you. It can mean she's testing you. Or it can even mean she's trying to make you carry a weight that isn't yours. That's controversial because so many men are raised to believe they have to play therapist, emotional sponge, or fixer. And let's be honest, men who fall into that role rarely end up in the position of strength. I'm here to show you what's really happening beneath the surface. The way you respond to her problems will decide whether she sees you as a man she expects or just another guy she uses to dump her stress on. There's no middle ground. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll never hear a woman's problems the same way again. You'll understand the hidden messages behind her words and know exactly how to position yourself so that she doesn't drain you, but instead sees you as the man she can't help but respect. She's testing you. 1. She's testing you. When a woman tells you her problems, the first thing you need to understand is this. Many times, she's not looking for answers. She's looking for your reaction. This is one of the most common, but least understood, test men face. A woman doesn't come right out and say, "I'm testing your strength, your patience, or your leadership." Instead, she'll share something that frustrates her, something that stresses her, or something that makes her emotional. And she's watching you closely. Even if you don't realize it, think about it this way. Men are tested in all areas of life. At work, you're tested by deadlines and competition. In the gym, you're tested by how much weight you can lift, or how much discipline you have. In relationships, the tests look different, but they are just as real. A woman wants to know if you can remain grounded when she's not, if you can keep your cool while she's emotional. It signals that you're solid. If you lose it, panic, or immediately try to fix everything, you failed that test. Most men make the mistake of rushing in like a firefighter, trying to put out every emotional fire she brings up. They think this will win her approval. But here's the truth. When you jump in too eagerly, you show her that her emotions have power over you. You're showing her that her storm can knock you off balance. That doesn't inspire attraction. It kills it. The real strength is staying calm, listening, without being pulled into the chaos, and showing through your body language and tone that you're steady no matter what she throws at you. That's what she's looking for. She doesn't necessarily want you to solve her job drama, her family stress, or her friend issues. She wants to feel whether or not you can hold steady when things get shaky. Imagine a captain steering a ship. The waves crash. The wind howls. The storm rages. The crew looks at the captain. If it panics, the whole ship is doomed. But if he stands firm, hands steady on the wheel, calm voice giving direction, everyone relaxes, even though the storm hasn't stopped. That's exactly how it works with women. You're the captain. She's watching to see if you can steer straight through the storm of her emotions. Once you understand this, everything changes. You stop reacting like the average guy who scrambles to prove his value. And instead, you show her with your presence that you're unshakable. That's how she knows you're worth following, respecting, and trusting. You're her dumping ground too. You're her dumping ground. There's a difference between a woman sharing her life with you and a woman using you as a personal dumping ground. Most men don't know where that line is. And because of that, they end up buried under the weight of problems that don't belong to them. If you're not careful, you'll find yourself drained constantly, listening to complaints that never end, while she walks away feeling lighter and you're left feeling heavier. Here's the mistake men make. They confuse being supportive with being her emotional trash can. Support doesn't mean you absorb all of her stress. Support means you provide presence, leadership, and perspective. But a lot of women, especially when they sense a man is too eager to please, will start offloading everything onto him. Her bad day at work, her arguments with friends, her endless family drama. Over time, that turns into a pattern, and you become less of a man in her eyes, and more of a container for negativity. You need to recognize when this shift happens. If every conversation turns into her complaining, and you're sitting there, nodding, listening, and offering advice that she ignores anyway, congratulations. You've become her dumping ground. And here's the kicker. Women don't actually respect the man who lets this happen. Sure, she might feel some temporary relief, but long-term she starts seeing you as weak, as someone she can pour into, but never look up to. Think about it. Do kings, leaders, or strong men sit around taking on everyone else's drama? They set boundaries. They know their energy is valuable. They don't let themselves get drained by endless emotional baggage. That doesn't mean you never listen to her problems. It means you don't allow her problems to become your problems. When White Owl senses she's unloading too much, you don't have to snap or get cold. You simply redirect. You can acknowledge what she's saying, but then steer the conversation towards solutions, growth, or even something lighter. That shows you're not there to be her emotional sponge. You're there to be a man with standards. And here's the lesson. Men need to burn into their minds. The more you let her dump negativity into your world, the less she'll respect you. She may come back to you with more and more problems, but that doesn't mean she values you. It means she's using you. Real respect grows when you're the man who doesn't let himself get dragged into endless emotional spirals. A woman will always test how much you'll take on. If you take on too much, she loses attraction. If you hold your ground and protect your energy, she sees you as strong. And strength, not weakness, is what keeps her drawn to you. Hidden attraction signs. 3. Hidden attraction signs. When a woman tells you her problems, sometimes it's not about stress relief, so manipulation. It's about attraction. Now, most men miss this completely because they're too focused on what she's saying instead of why she's saying it. Attraction doesn't always show up as a smile, a laugh, or obvious flirting. Sometimes it shows up in the quiet, vulnerable way she lets you into her personal world. Think about it. Women are naturally guarded. They don't go around spilling their insecurities and private issues to men they don't care about. If she's opening that door for you, it's a signal she sees you as someone different from the rest. She's essentially saying, I feel safe enough to show you a side of me I usually keep hidden. That right there is an early marker of attraction. It's not as flashy as her complimenting you, but it's far more valuable. Here's where most men mess this up. Instead of recognizing it as a sign of inset, they friend zone themselves. They slide into the role of the emotional best friend, the guy she vents to at 1 a.m. about how another man upset her. And while they're thinking, she's opening up to me, I must be special, she's thinking, I can trust him to listen, but I don't have to respect him. That's why you can't confuse openness with automatic attraction. You have to read it correctly and respond as a man, not Asher personal diary. The key is how you handle those conversations. If she shares something vulnerable, don't rush to fix it, and don't get overly emotional yourself. Instead, maintain that calm, steady energy, while also letting her see you as a man who can carry more than just words. You carry direction, light, humor, perspective, and confidence go a long way here. For example, if she's stressing about work, instead of sinking into the drama with her, you might say something that puts her at ease without downplaying her feelings. That balance shows her you're not just a listener, but someone who can lead emotionally. And here's the beauty of it. When attraction is hidden in the way she opens up, your response determines if it grows or dies. Handle it with strength, and she'll see you as a man she can lean in, a man she can respect, and yes, a man she can desire. Handle it with weakness, and you'll get stuck in the dreaded friend who listens category. While another man who knows how to lead takes the role you wanted. So, the next time a woman brings you her problems, pause and ask yourself, is this just unloading, or is this her way of showing trust and subtle attraction? If it's the latter, don't waste the opportunity. Step up, stay composed, and let her see the man she's opening up for. Trust or manipulation. 4. Trust or manipulation. When a woman shares her problems with you, it can mean two completely different things. Genuine trust, a subtle manipulation. The tricky part is knowing which one you're dealing with. Because on the surface, both look exactly the same. She's opening up. She's talking. She's letting you in. But the motive behind it can either strengthen the relationship or slowly drain it. Take Mark and Jessica, for example. Mark is a solid guy, works hard, loyal, cares deeply. In the beginning, Jessica would open up about her stressful job, her family, drama, or her insecurities. And Mark loved it. He thought, she trusts me. She's showing me sides no one else sees. And at first he was right. She was leaning on him because she saw him as her rock. But over time, the pattern shifted. Instead of occasional, vulnerable moments, Jessica began making every conversation about her problems. It wasn't just trust anymore. It was dependency. And Mark, without realizing, became her emotional crutch. Suddenly, her issues were steering the direction of their relationship. If she was upset, the whole night was ruined. If she had a bad day, Mark had to carry it too. That's not trust anymore. That's manipulation, whether intentional or not. Now, here's where men need to sharpen up. When a woman trusts you, it's healthy. She lets you see her struggles, but it doesn't define their relationship. She respects your energy, enough not to overload you constantly. You're her safe space, not her punching bag. But when it turns manipulative, the balance of power shifts. You're no longer her partner. You're her emotional servant. And the longer you play that role, the faster she loses attraction. The difference comes down to boundaries. In Mark's case, he never set them. He thought being the endlessly patient listener was the definition of love. But all it did was erode Jessica's respect. She didn't see a strong man anymore. She saw someone who bent under the weight of her moods, and once respect is gone, attraction follows right behind it. If you want to know whether it's trust or manipulation, look at the pattern. Does she bring you her problems occasionally, while still respecting your time, energy, and presence? That's trust. Or does she make it a constant cycle where your role in the relationship is to absorb her negativity and tiptoe around her emotions? That's manipulation. Even if she doesn't realize she's doing it, the solution isn't to shut her down. It's to draw clear lines, listen but don't get lost, support, but don't become her emotional trash can. A woman who truly values you will respect your boundaries, and once she sees that you won't let her problems control you, she'll admire you more. The therapist trap. 5. The therapist trap. One of the fastest ways a man loses respect in a relationship is by falling into what I call the therapist trap. This happens when you stop being her man and start acting like her counselor. A woman shares her problems, and instead of standing firm as a partner, you turn into Dr. Phil. You analyze, dissect, and endlessly try to fix her feelings. At first, she might appreciate it, but over time, she stops seeing you as the strong, desirable man she was drawn to, and starts viewing you as her emotional caretaker. Here's what men usually get wrong. First, they try to solve every problem she brings up. If she complains about work, they jump into, "You should tell your boss this," or "Here's how you can organize your day better." That sounds helpful, but in reality, it kills attraction. Why? Because she's not always looking for solutions. She's testing whether you can handle hearing her problems without losing your composure. Constantly fixing makes you look like you're desperate to please. Second, men often validate negativity instead of leading her out of it. For example, if she rants about a friend, he nods along and says, "Yeah, she really is terrible." That doesn't lift her energy. It drags both of you down over time. You're no longer the man who makes her feel better. You're the man who sits in the mud with her. So, what's the right way to handle it? Instead of playing therapist, you need to be her rock. That means listening without judgment, but not drowning in her emotions. When she vents about work, don't dive into solutions right away. A better response would be, "I hear you. That sounds tough, but you've handled bigger things before. You'll get through this too." Notice the difference. You're not fixing it for her. You're reminding her of her own strength. Another powerful approach is redirection. If she's spiraling into negativity, you don't get stuck there. You acknowledge her feelings, then shift the energy. For instance, if she's stressed about her boss, you might say, "Forget about him for now. Tell me about that project you were excited about last week." That shows leadership. You're not ignoring her problems, but you're not letting them dominate the moment either. And here's the golden rule. Never let her see you drained by her emotions. When you keep your tone calm, your body language steady, and your words balance between empathy and direction, she feels safe and she respects you. You've shown her that you can listen without being consumed. That's what keeps attraction alive. At the end of the day, she doesn't need another therapist. She needs a man she can look up to, a man who can guide the energy of the relationship without being controlled by it. If you can master that balance, you'll never get stuck in the therapist trap again. Boundaries matter. 6. Boundaries matter. If there's one thing that separates strong men from weak men in relationships, it's boundaries. Without boundaries, you become a man who bends to every emotional wave she sends your way. With boundaries, you become the man she respects. The man she knows can't be manipulated or drained. And make no mistake, how you handle a woman's problems is one of the clearest reflections of where your boundaries stand. Most men are scared to set boundaries because they think it makes them look cold or uncaring. They're afraid she'll get upset or worse, that she'll leave. So instead, they stay quiet, absorb everything, and convince themselves that's what love is. But there's the truth. Love without boundaries turns into resentment. The more you take on what isn't yours, the more you lose respect for yourself, and eventually she loses respect for you too. Now, boundaries don't mean shutting her down or ignoring her feelings. They mean drawing a line between her world and yours. For example, if she's constantly unloading every detail of her work drama, you don't just sit there like a sponge. You might say, "I get that your boss is tough, but let's not let him ruin our night. Let's focus onus." That's a boundary. You're showing her you care, but you're also making it clear you won't let her negativity dictate the energy between you. Another boundary is time. If she always calls you in the middle of your workday to vent, you don't drop everything and listen for an hour. A strong man says, "I'm busy right now, but I'll check in with you later." That's not rejection. It's self-respect. It tells her that while you're there for her, your mission and priorities come first. And believe me, women admire that more than the man who sacrifices everything just to listen. Boundaries also protect you from manipulation. If a woman learns that every time she dumps her problems on you, you'll bend to her moods, she'll keep doing it. But when she realizes you won't be swayed so easily, she adjusts. She brings her problems in a healthier way. Or sometimes she solves them herself before even coming to you. Why? Because she knows you won't tolerate endless emotional unloading. And here's the engaging part. Boundaries don't weaken attraction. They intensify it. A man without limits is forgettable. A man with standards is magnetic. When you calmly enforce boundaries, she may push back at first, but deep down she feels safer with you. She knows you're not afraid to lead, not afraid to say no, and not afraid to protect your energy. At the end of the day, your boundaries are not just for you, they're for their relationship. They create balance. They keep respect alive, and they ensure that the problems never drown out your purpose. Without them, you'll sink. With them, you'll rise as the kind of man she can't help but follow. Flip problems into power. 7. Flip problems into power. Here's where everything comes together, brother. A woman telling you her problems doesn't have to drain you, frustrate you, or trap you in the role of her therapist. If you know how to handle it, those moments can actually build your influence, increase her respect, and strengthen your connection. Her problems can become your power if you play it right. Most men hear a woman's complaints and think, "Here we go again." Or they scramble to fix things, hoping she'll reward them with appreciation. That's the wrong mindset. The right mindset is this. Every time she brings her problems to you, she's giving you a chance to lead. She's basically handing you a moment to show her whether you're a man who folds under pressure or a man who can rise above it and guide the energy forward. Think about leaders throughout history. Theonas who stood out weren't the ones who avoided challenges. They were the ones who turned challenges into opportunities. That's exactly how you need to treat a woman's problems. Instead of reacting like a burden's been dropped on you, see it as a stage to demonstrate calm, strength, and direction. Here's how you flip it. When she's venting, don't drown in it. Stay calm. Let her feel that no matter how messy her emotions get, you remain steady. That alone builds trust and attraction. Then instead of trying to solve everything, you frame her problem in a way that empowers both of you. If she says, "My boss is impossible," you don't just nod or pile on. You might say, "Sounds like he's under pressure too, but I know you'll handle him." You always figure it out. With one sentence, you show support, highlight her strength, and shift the energy from negativity to empowerment. And when the time is right, use humor. Nothing flips heavy problems into light power, like old-time joke or a playful comment. It breaks the cycle of negativity and reminds her that life isn't as heavy as she feels in the moment. That's leadership too, guiding her out of the storm, not by force, but by energy. Here's the beauty of it. The more you handle her problems this way, the more she'll associate you with strength and relief. You're not the guy who gets dragged down. You're the guy who lifts her up without even trying. And that's power. Because now, every time life throws her a curveball, you're the man she turns to, not just because she wants to unload, but because she feels better when she's around you. So remember, her problems aren't just problems. They're hidden opportunities. Opportunities to show calm under pressure. Opportunities to set boundaries. Opportunities to lead with confidence. Handle them right, and you won't just survive her emotional storms. You'll become the anchor she can't imagine living without. Conclusion. When a woman tells you her problems, it's never random. It's a test, a signal, or a moment to see what kind of man you really are. Weak men rush to fix, absorb, or complain about it. Strong men stay calm, set boundaries, and use those moments to lead. That's the difference between being her emotional sponge and being her anchor. If you handle her problems with strength, you don't just keep her respect, you grow it. Remember, the way you respond determines the role you play in her thank you. If you like this video, please share the video, and subscribe to our channel Modern Stoic. And also press the bell icon button so that our next video will reach you easily. Thank you very much.